From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. On the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in South Korea, Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The big news? Xi invited Carney to visit China. The invitation marks a significant thaw in relations between the two countries. It would be the first such official visit by a Canadian Prime Minister since Justin Trudeau's attempt to launch trade talks back in 2017. Carney told reporters he'd be looking forward to it, but when pressed, he did not answer whether today's meeting yielded any change in the current trade relationship. New 10% tariffs on buses are set to take effect November 1st under U.S. President Donald Trump's trade plan. Josipa Petronich, head of a Canadian urban transit advocacy group, says the tariffs will drive up costs for cities because bus manufacturing here in North America is deeply integrated, much like the auto industry.
Every mayor in North America is not seeing themselves right now. They really should be, because it just means now, at the worst case, that you can buy 10% fewer buses, 10% less in your transit fleets when every city in this country is desperate to buy enough buses starting yesterday.
Petronich warns that higher bus prices could deal a blow to budgets of cities right across North America and will very likely eventually affect residents and riders through things like property tax hikes and increases to transit fares or parking fees. The leader of the opposition was in Toronto Thursday night speaking at an event aimed at drawing young Canadians into the Conservative fold. Pierre Poilievre trumpeted his message of, quote, jobs, homes, hope, while at the same time criticizing Mark Carney and his Liberal government. Poilievre says youth have sacrificed more than those in past generations because of Liberal policies. A crowd of young people were joined by several Conservative MPs on stage behind the Tory leader, surrounded by signs with themed messages such as, "Don't sacrifice my future." An RCMP officer in Saskatchewan is facing charges after an on-duty incident earlier this year. Police say it's alleged that the Moose Jaw Mountie unlawfully entered a home in January, leading to an altercation with a man inside. The man wasn't injured, but later filed a complaint. Constable Steve Sharpen has been charged with 1 count each of break-and-enter and assault. And finally, King Charles has now stripped titles from his brother Andrew, including that of Prince, for his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Andrew is also being forced to move out of his royal residence. Reporter Perry Russum has more.
The move exceedingly rare in the UK. The last time this happened was in 1919, when Prince Ernest Augustus lost his title for siding with Germany in World War I. The palace announcing Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, adding, "These censures are deemed necessary, notwithstanding the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him."
Royal historian Craig Prescott said the monarchy needed to draw the thickest line it could between Andrew and the rest of the family. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, with the night off from the World Series, George Springer is likely to be back in the Blue Jays starting lineup for Game 6 after being out the last 2 games with an injury. Over to the NHL, Kiefer Sherwood had a hat trick. Jake DeBrusk scored the only goal in a shootout. The Vancouver Canucks beat the St. Louis Blues 4-3. Winnipeg's top line of Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Gabriel Velarde each had 3-point nights as the Winnipeg Jets downed the Chicago Blackhawks 6-3. JT Miller scored halfway through OT as the New York Rangers earned a 4-3 victory over the Edmonton Oilers, and Drake Batherson scored the shootout winner, leading the Ottawa Senators to a 4-3 win over the Calgary Flames. And finally, over to the NBA, where the Toronto Raptors had the night off, but they will be back in action Friday night on the road, taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs center, Jarrett Allen, is listed as questionable for the NBA Cup game after breaking the ring finger on his left hand. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.